Hello and welcome. I'm here with Cressida from Fun Science, and we are having a bit of a deep dive into why she set up Fun Science, how great it is, how she works with schools and how she works with teachers, and how she educates and entertains children in the world of science. So really pleased to have you here today, Cressida. Tell me a bit about why you set up this business in the first place.
So I started Fun Science, started doing science-themed birthday parties for children. I knew that it was really popular on TV. There was lots of popular science programs for children on TV, but not very much in the real world. So sort of spotted this gap in the market and started doing science-themed birthday parties. So really hands-on practical experiments. I was doing science at university and I really loved science and I really wanted to share that passion with children. And we found that the children absolutely loved it. The parents absolutely loved it as well. And it got really, really popular in the local area, which was Bath, where I set it up. And soon we had lots of parents who were also working in schools, so teachers, school support staff saying, it'd be absolutely amazing if you could come and do this in the school. So kind of gradually started working within schools, doing after school clubs and workshops, and then doing holiday clubs as well. And it was all quite organic. So mostly it came from parents and teachers seeing what we did. So it started with just me and then gradually built. And what we were able to do was those parents and teachers say, this is brilliant, please come into our school. And then it's grown from there, really.
Wow, that's amazing. Tell me about your first ever session that you did then. So your first birthday party, how did that come about? And was it a friend or how did you get into it?
Yeah, so it wasn't a friend, it was a stranger. So it was somebody, they booked our Amazing Electrics party, which has kind of evolved now into a slightly different party now, but it was using our Van de Graaff generator, which is the machine where you put your hands on and your hair sticks up in the air and making lightning. And it was with a group of 9-year-old boys who now must be about 22, 23. So it was a group of 20 children and they found about it online. So I listed it in a local parenting directory and somebody just got in touch, said that looks really good and booked it and went from there. So it was a complete stranger.
Wow. That's amazing, isn't it? Just, someone just finding you like that and giving you your first break and your first taste into it. And I guess then, like you say, it's organically grown. And tell me a bit more about how you work with schools then. So you obviously go in and do sessions during school time, but you've got the after school as well. Tell me a little bit about that and how that works.
Yeah, so the after school clubs, first of all, they work really, really well because there's no cost to the school. So what we do is we go into the school once a week. The parents pay for their children to sign up. So the parents pay £7 a week and their children come along for an hour a week after school and do something. So it might be potions, robots, something different every single week. We have an online booking system. So all the schools need to do is they let us use a room in their school and then they just give a link to the parents. The parents follow that link, go online and book it. And then we send it registered to the schools. So the reason it works so well is it's really win-win because we've had a lot of schools say to us that this has actually really helped them to raise the profile of science in their schools. So something that they're pushing to parents and saying, this is fantastic, please come along. But they haven't had to pay anything for it. And they also haven't had to do any work towards it. So previously teachers might have had to run a science club, which is a lot of effort for teachers. They don't have the resources that we've got as well, all of the equipment and all of the session plans. So it kind of really works for them. And then parents say to us that they love it because it's good childcare, because it's for an hour after school, in school, so the children don't have to go anywhere. And it also is something that their children actually want to go to. So some of their children maybe haven't enjoyed other clubs, maybe they're not particularly sporty or into drama, but they really enjoy coming to science clubs. So that's the after school clubs. And then the workshops, those are in school. So those come out of the school's funding. So schools will have funding set aside for this sort of thing. And we will come in and we'll just basically make a topic come alive. So if they've been learning about light, for example, we might come in, bring the lightning machine, but also lots of other things like plasma balls and lots of cool circuit tools that they won't have in school. We come in, we do that, we make the topic a lot more exciting to the children and just really help them to kind of see that passion for science kind of ignite in them. And we do a lot of work in British Science Week as well, because there is funding from the British Science Association that schools can access. And we help a lot of schools to access that funding. So they end up having a fun science workshop that actually they haven't had to pay anything for as well. So sometimes a lot of schools are eligible for that funding and we can help them to get that too.
Oh, that's amazing. Tell me a little bit more about how you help them with the funding, because it's a big thing, isn't it? Like if you're full-time teaching and then you've got to think about creating a funding bid as well. How much do you step in and help with that process?
So what we've got is we've got a guidance document, which basically talks them through the whole process. So it's things that they can copy and paste, hopefully rewrite slightly in their own words, but copy and paste into the application. We can point them in the right direction for kind of extra ideas that they can put in. And we just know the sorts of things that are likely to get approved. So because we've worked with the British Science Association, we work with them providing resources for their activity packs as well for schools. So if anybody is working in a school and gets the British Science Week activity pack this year, they should see some fun science activities in there. So we've got that link with them. But also because we've worked with other schools and seen what does get approved and what doesn't get approved, we can just offer that guidance. And we can't guarantee which schools will get approved for the funding. But what we could say is we'll book in something provisionally, help the schools to access the funding. It's easier for them to access funding if they've got something provisionally booked in, because they can say specifically the funding is for fun science. But what we do is there's no charge to the school if they don't get the funding. So it means it's a lot lower risk for them. Whereas if they were booking another company that didn't offer that, they might still have to pay even if they didn't get the funding. So that's the way that we support them.
That's fantastic. That's really nice. And, you know, because there is a risk to it, isn't there? Like you say, they might not get the funding. And then if they have to pay a deposit or, you know, those children are missing out. So that's really nice that you guys do that. And what do the teachers think when you come in and you're delivering all this science stuff? Because like you say, probably in most schools, they don't have access to those kind of facilities, do they? And that kind of equipment. So how do they react to your sessions?
Yeah, so quite often they react as excited as the children. So, you know, if we go in, we do one where we make fog rings, so rings of fog that fly across the school hall. That one's really impressive, kind of wow factor one. Lots of potion making, things like that. So often the teachers react in a really similar way to the children. And a lot of them feedback that it's just really amazing to see children so engaged in learning, particularly sometimes children that find it harder to focus or that maybe don't always enjoy school. Then we come in and they actually find that those children actually do have a passion for science. It's just a passion for science when it's practical, not necessarily a passion for reading and writing about science. So it's really nice to see the teachers spotting things in their pupils that actually even they are quite surprised by, which is really, really nice to see.
Absolutely. And I guess for you guys as an organization, you are sort of up on all the sort of risks that can happen with the chemicals and the equipment that you can use. And that just takes that pressure off the school, doesn't it, by delivering that? And I'm presuming your risks and your lesson plans are really quite comprehensive for schools.
Yeah, definitely. So we've got risk assessments for absolutely everything that we do. And as you say, it takes a lot away from the teachers. And even just small things like we know how to do the experiments, and we've done them so many times that we've made them work so much better. And also just knowing what equipment works best. Simple things like Coke and Mentos. It's a really popular experiment that lots of teachers could do, but we know exactly what brand of actually lemonade is better. So we use lemonade, not Coke. Yeah, so we know what brand of lemonade works best. We've got a little launcher, little tool that we use to launch the Mentos. So it's even quite small things like that where there's absolutely nothing stopping a teacher being able to do that. But if they were to try and test out all the different types of Coke or lemonade, it's going to get really expensive, and they just don't have the time for that sort of thing. And that's just one experiment that takes about 5 minutes. So what we're able to do is sort of come in with everything risk assessed, but also tested. So we know exactly how to make it sort of as wow factor as it possibly can be. So it's definitely going to work.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Any teachers that have booked you in or observed some of your sessions, have they then booked a birthday party for their own children, or have they inquired about franchising? Have you had that as well, where they, you know, the proof's in the pudding kind of thing?
Yeah, definitely. So in terms of the birthday parties, we get that quite often. One way or the other. So either a teacher sees us at a birthday party and books us for their school, or a teacher has a child and books us for their child's birthday. So we've got that quite a lot. We give out certificates at all of our sessions, and there's different coloured ones for birthday parties, workshops, etc. And lots of children have managed to collect lots of different ones because they've been to an after-school club, a holiday club, a birthday party. So it's really common for us to have that. And also quite often teachers might also be scout leaders, things like that. And then they'll book us for their scout groups. So that sort of thing happens quite often, actually. So, and then in terms of franchisees, we don't tend to get many from our local area just because nobody could have a franchise in this area because of
Sure.
we've already got one. But what we do have is we've had people from outside the area come along to our holiday clubs, observe, and then decide that they want to go ahead with a franchise. So that's really funny for us as well.
Yeah, that's great, isn't it? Because I think when you're sort of immersed in it and you see the joy, I mean, I've seen a lot of your photos and videos that you've posted online, and the joy in those kids' faces, I think, is just, you know, just so lovely, isn't it? And that's kind of why a lot of teachers went into teaching in the first place, because they want to inspire, and you can see it in the fun science sessions. You can see that inspiration written all over the kids' faces. So do you currently have any teachers as franchisees?
Yes, we have quite a few teachers as franchisees, and we find they make absolutely brilliant franchisees, partially just because of the practical things of being used to working in schools and kind of knowing how those systems work. And also some of our franchisees have actually gone back into schools that they've enjoyed working in. It's not compulsory. Some sort of they're done with that and they don't want to go back to that school. But we've got some franchisees that have been teachers that have worked in one school or a couple of schools, even if it's a school that they did their teacher training in many years ago. They've now been able to contact those schools, or we've contacted the schools, and they've gone back into a school that they previously really enjoyed working in. So that's quite nice for them to be able to keep up those friendships. And because our franchisees go to lots of different schools, they might be working in a school they were in 5 years ago and a school they were in 2 years ago on a weekly basis. So yeah, absolutely. We've got quite a few, about 50% of our franchisees have been teachers.
Amazing. And can you is it like quite a flexible model? Like, could you just do the holiday clubs, or could you just do the sort of school time and not do the holiday things? Sorry, did I explain that right?
No, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, so the sort of main services that we have are the workshops, the after school clubs, and also home education groups alongside after school clubs. They're very similar. We have the birthday parties and we have the holiday clubs. So there's a mixture of different things that people can do. Most of our franchisees don't do all of those. So it's most common to do the after school clubs. So the after school clubs are weekly, so they're a really good regular income to have coming in. So most of our franchisees do those. We've got one franchisee that prefers doing more the performance side of things, prefers the birthday party side of things. So she actually doesn't do after school clubs. She employs somebody to do some after school clubs for her, which is always an option. And then birthday parties are at weekends, and some people don't want to work weekends. So it's very possible to not do the birthday parties, or to employ somebody to do the birthday parties, or to say, actually, I'm going to do one Saturday every other week. I'm happy to do birthday parties, but I don't want to take my whole weekend doing birthday parties. And that's the same with holiday clubs. So the holiday clubs don't have to run in all the school holidays. It's very possible to just do one day. It might do 1 week, or to do none at all. So some of our franchisees, they actually don't do any of their own holiday clubs. They just go to other organizations. So they might do workshops in libraries throughout the summer, for example, or they might do workshops for other after school clubs or holiday clubs, do it that kind of way. So it's really, really flexible. And yeah, it's very possible to be earning a full-time wage without doing all of those different services. So somebody might say, yeah, I'm just going to do the after school clubs, and that's absolutely fine. People tend to start a bit more broad and then specialize in the one that actually suits them best. So they might decide that they're absolutely loving the birthday parties. And there are other things like festivals and events as well that are more one-off things that do come up throughout the year that they might choose to specialize in a little bit more.
Yeah, that's really nice. So they've got a lot of autonomy, and and also their own, it fits in with their own lifestyle, whether they've got young children or they haven't. They can play around with it. And I like this idea that they can perhaps hire someone to go and do those bits, so they can still generate that money and that interest and supply that service, but they don't necessarily have to be front facing all the time, do they?
Yeah, exactly. And it's a job that suits a lot of students particularly. So if anybody's got a university near them, it's the kind of thing that the profit margin is pretty good. So you can employ a student and pay them a really decent wage, and it's good for their experience as well. But also it's still earning without having to actually go out and do it, which is really good.
Yeah, amazing. If I was a teacher and I was thinking, maybe I want to finish this academic year, but then I'd like to start a business, how does it work? Could I start running the business whilst I was still teaching, or is it sort of a cut-off point and then a start point?
No, you could start while still teaching. So one of our recent franchisees started in April of 2024, and had been teaching. So cut down teaching to 3 days a week and did fun science 2 days a week and did it like that for a term. Then did a few workshops in the summer, and after the summer has gone full time with fun science, so doing it 5 days a week. So that's perfectly possible. Actually, that's fairly common. Quite a lot of people do that. I think it helps people to feel like it's a bit of a lower risk, because you can start off, and then you can see that actually, yeah, I am earning enough with fun science, and like our most recent franchisee did, and then go full time with it. So yeah, absolutely, that's definitely an option. And if you weren't able to drop down your hours as well, so if you were working 5 days a week, what we can do is we can start off doing the marketing and things for you. So we know you're starting in September. We can start off contacting schools, getting those all booked in for you. So we will book in the first after school clubs as well. So we can make sure if somebody was wanting to start in September and we know that, and they've agreed with everything before that and signed the agreement, then we can make sure that actually when they start in September, they're starting with 5 after school clubs, if that's what they want. And we can start getting bookings for birthday parties as well. So it's possible to kind of start half and half. That's an option. Yeah, or to say, actually, I'm really busy, because teachers are busy. It would be very hard to teach 5 days a week and to start. So you could say, we'll do the starting parts and we'll just get those bookings for when you are available. That's fine.
Yeah, that sounds good. And talk me through the sort of typical session then, a sort of day in the life of a franchisee. What does that look like?
Okay, so yeah, so it's sort of a typical day. So I'd say probably in a morning, it'd be a little bit of admin, potentially, either having the morning off or maybe doing a little bit of admin. Kind of admin would be replying to emails from people. The booking system makes things quite simple, so there's not too much admin to do, but just a few emails and things like that. Then there may be a home education group. So home education groups work with children who are home educated. It works very similar to an after school club, but it tends to happen in the day. So it'll be going to a group of home educated children and teaching them something about science. So say, for example, you might be teaching about rockets. So that might start with a big rocket launch outside, which is a really cool thing to start off with. Then the children will make their own mini rockets and might experiment with different sizes to see which is best, and kind of use the scientific method to see which one works best. Then you might do another smaller rocket launch. So we've got smaller ones that use pressure, like a little exploding little rocket that you do outside. Then if there was time, you might make some little model things out of Play-Doh, put them on the top of the rocket and see how that makes it fly. So that would be about an hour-long session there, and you'd be teaching the children about forces and using that terminology as you go along. Then you might have an after-school club. So most of our franchisees go off to after-school clubs around about 3:15 till 4:15 they tend to run. And usually you'd probably do the same thing that you did with your home education group earlier that morning, just to reduce your planning time. But you might do something different. So, for example, a potion session is a nice one where the children all get to make their own chemical reactions. So it starts with you leading them through a chemical reaction where you tell them exactly what to do. And then it goes to them choosing which chemicals they want to mix together. And obviously, we've got all the risk assessments, so we can make sure they're never going to create something too dangerous. So it's all nice and safe, but they'll be mixing lots of different things together and seeing what happens. And that's working on their observation skills there. So it'd normally be a couple of different things. And then by 4:15, you'd be finished. So that tends to be how the day would go.
Seems like a really nice day as well, doesn't it? So, you know, nice and sort of focused for those two groups, but also a little bit more relaxed than the kind of chaos that is teaching sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that'd be there'd be some days where you might have a day of workshops, and those are the most profitable days, so they are really nice, but they're quite rare. So normally it's just going to be 1 or 2 sessions in a day, and then between that, time to respond to a few emails, maybe do a few social media posts, but relatively relaxed. So if somebody wanted to go to a class in the day or meet up with friends and family in the day, that's absolutely fine. That'd be good.
Yeah. And in terms of sort of getting clients, obviously your brand is known, and you're doing a lot of work behind the scenes, aren't you, to make your brand recognizable, and teachers move to different schools in different areas. How much is it them finding their own clients, and how much can you help them with that? Or does it just depend on the area?
So it would initially be us. So when somebody comes along and says, I want to start a franchise, they'll tell us how many days they want to run after school clubs to begin with, and we will get them after school clubs for those days. we work with a lot of where we're in a school, but it's part of a multi-academy trust that's across the UK. So it might be that even though we don't work in the schools, in a new area, we work with the trust. So we already have a bit of a contact there. So we can use those contacts initially to get those first 5 schools, or somebody, it might be 3 schools, depending on what suits them. Initially, we start like that. And then what we do is we pass over kind of those strategies for how to do that and those contacts to our franchisees. And then going forwards, it would be largely them that gets the new schools. But I'd say largely them, it is mostly word of mouth, to be honest. So the majority of bookings come through our website. So even though I say it's largely them, just the website and the work that we do on the website and the kind of search engine optimization is most of it. So they will have to respond to the inquiries when people come through and ask about a new session, but those inquiries will normally come through the website. So franchisees aren't spending a huge amount of time looking for work. It's coming to them and then they're responding to it.
Excellent. That's good to know. So it's not so scary, is it? If you're finding clients for them to start with, you're taking that pressure off, because I think once you find your feet, it's okay, isn't it? But to start with, just approaching people is out of your comfort zone, I guess.
Yeah,
in teaching.
Definitely.
Okay, and I've forgotten the question I was going to ask now. I was going to ask something else about, educate. So, yeah, you've mentioned terminology and you've mentioned working with schools in particular. What percentage is sort of linked to the curriculum? What is just about having fun and allowing the children to explore science? Is it a blend of the two, or heavily on one or the other?
It is a blend of the two, but the primary science curriculum is quite narrow. So we cover the primary science curriculum, but we go above and beyond it, because if we just stuck to the primary school science curriculum, we wouldn't have enough sessions to fill sort of going into schools once a week for the whole year. So we do all of the kind of specific topic work that's in the primary school curriculum. Mostly what we're doing is looking at going beyond that in terms of topics, but also the working scientifically skills. So that's a big part of the curriculum, is children learning how to be scientists and how to work scientifically. So everything that we do is linked into that, but topic wise, we are going beyond. So for example, dinosaurs is covered slightly in the curriculum. There's a little bit on fossils, but there's not much on it. And kids absolutely love dinosaurs. So we go above and beyond kind of teaching about that. Same with space. There's a little bit of space in the primary school curriculum, but there's not very much. And it's a really popular topic for children. And the potions, again, there's lots of these topics that are really, really cool and exciting that unfortunately the curriculum doesn't really cover them in as much depth as we think children would like to. So we're kind of taking it from the curriculum, but expanding upon that. So it's, I'd say, percentage-wise in terms of fun and education, it's probably about 50-50, but that education is above and beyond from the curriculum. The only slight difference is at our birthday parties, it's a shift more towards fun at our birthday parties. And if the children go away having learned that science is exciting, then that's enough for us. But we want them to just have a really good time.
Excellent. And with that in mind, do you need to have any experience in science at all to run a fun science franchise? If you have taught art the whole time, or talk me through that.
Yeah, so no, you don't need to have specific experience, because it's not sort of specifically based on the curriculum, and we teach everything. So we have session plans that are really detailed, and they've got exactly what to do with the children, but they've also got background science on there as well for people to read. We are quite flexible as well. If franchisees do want to give their own opinions or their own sort of suggestions for activities, then that's fine, and they don't have to do things exactly as they're written. We would just say somebody does need to have an interest in science. So it's not going to be the right franchise for somebody that thinks science is really boring. It's got to be somebody that's passionate about science and wants children to share that passion. And from there, the actual sort of topics, we could teach that. It's primary school level and a bit beyond that, but it's teachable. What's not teachable is that passion for working with children and for wanting them to be excited about science.
Excellent. Yeah, good to hear. And lastly, I just wanted to know about your sort of franchise community. Do you ever come together, either online or in person? Are there any events that you do?
So we've got a Facebook group, so people chat in there, and people can post in there just kind of really cool ideas that they've had, or it might sometimes be, I'm having this problem with my Van Graph generator, how can I fix it? And it's a really nice community. People will say, oh, I've got something that can help with that, I'll post it to you. It's a really friendly community of people helping each other out. And we also have online meetings as well. So they're optional. You don't have to come to them. Some franchisees, it's not for them, but it's just kind of tend to have a topic. So it might be behavior management and chat about that. And we sometimes try and invite kind of experts as well to come along to those as well. So possibly an accountant to come and talk about accountancy, a marketing specialist to come and talk about marketing. And then we all have a bit of a chat as well. So it's kind of a social, but also kind of a networking and learning experience as well. So we have those kind of every 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah, that's nice that people can dip in and out of it as and when they need it, I suppose. So it's nice to have that sort of flexibility. Wonderful. Okay, and what's the best protocol if someone is interested in a franchise with you? What's the first thing that they should do?
So get in touch with us so that we can send you a franchise prospectus, and just check that your area is actually available, because that's a really key thing. If we've already got a franchise in your area, then it's not going to work. So that's the first thing. Check your area is available, have a read through our prospectus and ask any questions. I think it's really important to just send over any questions. There's no stupid questions, because it's a really big decision. So we want people to actually send over anything that they're thinking about or anything that's worrying them. We'd say then come and shadow one of our sessions if you can. So either one at our head office, which is based in Bath or Bristol, or if that's not accessible to you, possibly one of our other franchisees as well. Have a chat with an existing franchisee. We're very happy. Their contact details are all on the website. So we're very happy for people to get in touch with any of them. And obviously they're busy people, but they're all really great, and they're likely to be able to help you out and answer some of the questions you might have. So get in touch with somebody, and just from there, ask all the questions that you want to ask. And hopefully from that point on, you will see if it's for you. And if it is for you, that's fantastic. And if it's not for you, then at least you've answered that question.
That's wonderful. And I'll put that link in the comments as well. So if you've watched this and you think, yeah, I'd like to learn more, then just click on that link and arrange a time to have a chat with Cressida, because it is a fun science exploration, isn't it? So if you really love a bit of fun and you love a bit of science, then it could be a really good fit for you. So thank you so much for your time today, Cressida. I really appreciate you talking to us and telling us about a bit more about how your business works and how you appreciate teachers coming in and working for you. And I guess there could be teachers out there that want to book your sessions as well for their school and get a taste of that way, and then potentially become a franchisee. So feel free to do that, because that's a great way to experience the package, isn't it? And to learn a bit more about fun science.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.